Flexible and adaptable, two terms there that you look at and you probably think, well, what in the world does that have to do with what you do? And I think probably everyone knows that the world around you is changing. Things change rapidly. And one of the things that you have to be able to do, and in any job that you have, is be flexible and adaptable, because everything's never going to line up the way you want it to be. And you probably even experience that in school. Nothing ever, sometimes things are going to change that you may not be aware of. And you've always need to be, in my opinion, need to be prepared to be ready for that change and to not let it ruin your entire day, your entire week, or whatever. You're going to deal with change, and you have to be prepared to do so. Moving out of your comfort zone. And this is, I think, where, sometimes we have a little bit of difficulty as humans. We all get comfortable and like to do what we do and would like to know everything we're going to do on a daily basis. But we all know that's not going to happen in the world we live in. For example, I came in today with plans to do 3 things this morning prior to having our training session here at 10:30. Well, guess what happened? I got a telephone call as soon as I walked in the door, which took me off of item 1. I got finished with that telephone call, and I got an email, and then a 3rd telephone call. So I have yet to get to A, B, and C on my list today. Now, I will eventually get there, but it may not be today, unless it's something that is urgent and, something that may be able to wait. Be flexible, be willing to change or compromise, because we're going to have to do that a lot. And sometimes we can be so rigid and so set in our ways that may not want to compromise or do something differently. But keep in mind, compromising, helps. I've always, before I came to work at Encova, I did a lot of litigation as a lawyer. And when lawsuits get filed, typically the parties all come together, and there's an independent third party called a mediator. And the mediator will come and try to get you, both parties, to compromise. And, if both parties walk in and they're dead set is, I want $100,000 to settle this case, but I only think it's worth $25,000. If there's no movement and no one is flexible and willing to compromise, it's an exercise in futility and a waste of time. Now, I may not be happy that I have to pay a little bit more, and the other side's not going to be happy that they have to take a little bit less. But at the end of the day, compromise is something that helps keep things going and keeps our world moving. So you have to be willing to listen to the other side. Sometimes compromising is a good thing. I've had times when people have presented me with ideas that have been, hey, that's a good idea that I never would have thought of. And I'm willing to compromise. And I learned a little bit from that. So don't think compromise is a bad thing. Sometimes I think we get into this world that thinking if we compromise or give up something, it's a bad thing. It is not. It's an experience, and hopefully an experience that you can learn from. And the other thing is the adaptability portion of it. We are going to have uncertain things come up in our life. We are going to have things occur that we do not know about. And Shelby talked a little bit about this, but we've been undergoing this training at Encova, and it's an equation. So hope you're prepared for algebra class. It's E plus R equals O. And it talks about we all have these events in our life, and there's an outcome to that event. And there's only one thing we control in that, and that's the R, which is our response to it. So we do control how we respond, and our response is, very has a lot to do with what the outcome is going to be. So Shelby, I'll let you talk a little bit about that. I love this E plus R equals O. It has helped me tremendously in my career the past couple of years, just sitting back thinking about the E plus R equals O.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. So I don't know if your school has learned about the R factor, but as Tony said, it's something we've been using at Encova for the past couple of years. So as he mentioned, the R factor is the E, the event, plus R, your response, equals O, the outcome. So, the thing that you have control over is the R, your response. And then in turn, your response is an event for someone else. So, you also need to be conscious of how your response to daily events affects someone else's day or someone else's experience. So we all have daily events. Some you can predict, some you can't. For example, your alarm going off in the morning. That's an event you have every day. You can predict that. So you can choose to jump out of bed and get your day started as soon as your alarm goes off, or you can choose to hit snooze 5 times like I might have done this morning. But that's something you can predict, and you can choose your response to that event.
One of the great examples of that was my instructor on the E+R=O described an event that if you drive, we've all experienced this. And the event is you're driving on the interstate and you're in the fast lane, you're going 75 miles an hour, and a car gets on your bumper. And you have a couple of different responses there. One, you can tap on your brake, and possibly that may cause an accident and may cause you to get injured, but it's also going to cause you to be angry. And the outcome of that could be an accident. You're going to ruin your day. You're going to get your blood pressure all up. Or you can just move over into the other lane and let the speedy person go by you. The outcome is that is you remain calm and your day goes on. And you're not going to be in an accident. So those are some of the kind of things that this whole thing has helped me think through in my life, is that I do control the response. And not only does that response possibly have an impact on me, it also can have an impact on those around me.
All right, great. And just so we're all aware, we have about 6 minutes left.
Okay. So I think this next slide is kind of what we were just talking about. You know, adjust your actions, seek out new or more information if needed to adjust, you know, your response, and maybe develop a new plan. So another example of an event would be if your teacher tells you a book report is now due 4 days earlier than it was originally due, so that it can be turned in before the holiday break. How would you react and adjust? Can anyone give an example of what you would do in that situation?
I'd probably just turn it in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because one option is just to not do it, right, and turn it in on time. And then what happens? What's the outcome there?
I would just get a 0.
Right. And I'll tell a quick funny story about when I first finished my first year of law school. I interned with this large law firm in West Virginia, and one of the senior partners came the first day and gave me an assignment, and a couple other people gave me assignments. So that morning, the following morning on Tuesday, this senior partner walked into my office and said, "Hey, when are you going to get my project done?" And I said, "Well, I've got 2 others to do. Is it okay if I have it to you by Friday?" And his response was, "No, wrong. You are now in the real world. It will be on my desk by 5 p.m. So I had a couple of choices there, right? I could have said, "No, I can't get it done," and presented it to him on Friday, which I think we all probably know the outcome of that. I probably never would have received a job at that law firm. Or I could have just, did what he asked, put the other stuff aside, which I found out could have waited. And I think it goes along with the slide that Shelby had. Get more information. I went to the other attorneys and said, "Hey, there's a deadline, an emergency deadline for this project. Can yours be Friday?" And they were fine. So you develop a new plan, get more information, and sit down and work through it and find out what you can do to make it happen.
Okay, fantastic. And I know we have about 3 minutes left, and I wanted to leave a little bit of time for Q&A. Any final questions for Shelby or Tony? And then I have a question to pose to our class as well.
Here, I have a question. So, like, what are the specific requirements for what, like, your insurance will cover, or are there any?
I'm sorry, what? You broke up on me a little bit. Specific requirements for
what your insurance company will cover?
Well, I think Shelby mentioned when she's talking about the career opportunities, we employ people called underwriters and actuaries. So these are very smart people who manipulate and massage numbers, and they look at you as an individual. So if you're buying car insurance, they're going to look at your age. You know, if you're male or female, they're going to look at how many accidents you have and try to determine how much of a risk you're going to be for that insurance company. Because remember, I said you are transferring your risk to the insurance company. So they're trying to determine how much of a risk they think you are. So as you get older, like me, and fewer accidents, your insurance is going to be less. As you're younger, you're learning to drive. They're going to look at you as a higher risk. On the business side, with what, Shelby and I are mainly involved in workers' compensation, they're going to look to see how safe your workplace is. Do you have a lot of injuries? Do a lot of people get injured? The more injuries and the more time you have people missing work because of injuries, you're a higher risk. So you're going to pay more money to insure that than the company who does not have people missing work and not getting injured. And sometimes, it's not that this is anybody's fault. Accidents happen. But that's how insurance companies, they try to determine what risk you would be to them.
Okay.
That was a great question, Maddie. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.